Great social movements in human history almost always start small, often becoming much larger than their founders ever imagined. Sometimes circumstances, personalities, and need combine to create a story that is much bigger than the individuals involved. That's exactly what happened on the East End of London in the middle of the 19th century. William and Catherine Booth entered into the world of social and spiritual service because they saw people being destroyed by poverty, disease, and violence. The Booths knew that they had to help. To the streets of East London, they brought the life-giving message of Jesus Christ, along with food, shelter, and a belief in basic human dignity. In 1865, the Salvation Army was born.
Here is a home, 16 families. They eat and drink and sleep and eat and die in the same chamber. Here is a drunkard's hovel, void of furniture, wife of skeleton, children in rags, father maltreating the victims of his neglect. Brought it all on themselves, you say? Perhaps so. But that does not excuse our assistance. You don't demand the certificate of virtue before you drag the drowning creature out of the water. But what shall we do? Content ourselves by singing a hymn, offering a prayer, or giving a little good advice? No. 10,000 times no. We will pity them, feed them, reclaim them, employ them. Perhaps we shall fail with many, quite likely, but our business is to help them all the same, and that in the most practical, economical, and Christ-like manner.
The Booths' work so radically changed lives that men and women came from far and wide to learn from them, and in turn traveled to other areas of the world to serve as officers, employees, and volunteers of the Salvation Army. As of 2015, the Army is active in 126 countries around the globe and employs over 125,000 people. These employees serve humanity in over 15,000 worship and service centers, providing temporary and long-term assistance to over 30 million people each year. The Salvation Army also provides disaster relief assistance to thousands around the globe. The Army is on site in the aftermath of flooding, earthquakes, terrorist attacks, and other tragedies to provide material assistance as well as emotional and spiritual support to victims and first responders. Preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ and meeting human need in His name is exactly what the Salvation Army in the United States was doing when McDonald's restaurant founder Ray Kroc took notice and became a supporter with his time and money. Following Ray's passing, his widow, Joan Kroc, asked the Salvation Army to work with her to address the challenges she observed in many parts of her hometown of San Diego.
Actually, this project took seed a few years ago when our former mayor, Maureen O'Connor, said, "You know, I'd like to take you on a little tour of San Diego." I was troubled with what I observed, and it left a deep impression with me, and one that would not go away. It also left me with a persistent desire to try to do something to make life a little happier for the families, particularly the children, as I realized that they desperately needed a safe gathering place, a place with facilities and trained professionals to nurture their social skills, arts appreciation, and athletic potential.
Later, Joan gifted $87 million to the Salvation Army to build a state-of-the-art community center for the families of the East San Diego area. It was to be a safe gathering place with facilities and professionals trained to nurture children's social skills and offer them opportunities to reach their full potential in arts, education, and athletics.
She came from simple means, and she felt that if given the opportunity, people without means could achieve a great deal and could attain incredible heights in their life. Her dream, I think, was to fulfill the potential in individual lives, but at the same time doing it on a massive scale.
Much like William Booth, Joan Kroc saw the need in her community and was compelled to do something about it. She dreamed of seeing the need met, and she trusted the Salvation Army to make that dream a reality.
It's just great to be in the neighborhood, isn't it, kids? I love it. And as Mr. Rogers would say, it's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Well, I have two wishes, two hopes, and one is that in the next 100 years, that tens and tens of thousands of children, and all people, but mostly for you guys, will have had thousands of hours to enjoy this beautiful, beautiful new facility. And my other hope is that as you grow and develop and are nurtured, that your hearts will never, ever become hardened with intolerance or hate or anything but peace and love and acceptance and tolerance. You're what the world is banking on.
In June 2002, the first Salvation Army Ray and Joan Kroc Core Community Center opened its doors in San Diego, California. Mrs. Kroc often visited the center and witnessed the Salvation Army carrying out her vision for the center to be a beacon of light and hope in the community.
It's impossible for me to convey to you the respect and admiration that I have for these wonderful friends, the Salvation Army, and all of the people, volunteers, that have come from all walks of life to help get this project off the ground. This is something that Ray would have liked me to do, and I'm sure he's looking down. I hope he's looking down. But I know he'd be happy and proud of today.
Sadly, about a year after the San Diego Center opened, Mrs. Kroc became terminally ill and had little time left in this world. So moved by the great work being done at the Salvation Army Kroc Center in San Diego, Mrs. Kroc gifted the bulk of her estate, about $1.5 billion, to the Salvation Army to fund the construction and operation of community centers like the one in San Diego all around the United States. At the time, this was the largest single gift to a charity in our nation's history.
I think from the very beginning, she wanted to do this a number of times. Matter of fact, before she passed away, she talked about doing one in Chicago. She talked about doing one in Mississippi. And so I think it was always her dream.
My grandma said a lot about the Salvation Army. She trusted them wholeheartedly, especially after she saw what they did with this beautiful center. And that is the reason she decided to donate most of her fortune to the Salvation Army so children around the country could have the same opportunity as here in San Diego.
Mrs. Kroc's dream of bringing opportunity to children and families around the country is what leads us to where we are today. Many cities submitted proposals for a Kroc Center grant, and 26 ultimately were awarded. Included among the 26 is the Kroc Center in Phoenix.
I moved here from Oklahoma in 1969. During that time, we had a small facility. It was about 50,000 square feet. We had one gymnasium, swimming pool, football fields, baseball diamonds. And during that time, Salvation Army was a place of refuge for us kids to get off the streets.
We had a small youth center and a core program here, and it was an amazing thing. And it really started in a trailer, the original expression of the Salvation Army service in South Phoenix.
That the Salvation Army has been here for so many years. As the need changes, as we see that there are things that need to take place within the community, we change as well to meet those ever-changing needs in the community.
And then we heard that they were going to try to put a Kroc Community Center here in Phoenix. So I said, well, yeah, this is the place that needs to be. This is where we see the need for the lives of young people to change.
It was tough. We thought we had an amount in our mind what we were going to raise, and then it was told to us that we were going to raise $15 million. Well, that was a little higher than what we thought, but we started that process.
We had the community involvement. We got all the different committees, advisory board, and other businesses to come together.
And so we went out with hundreds of other volunteers and donors and raised $15 million.
We went everywhere, turned over every rock, and of course we had to have the majority of that in hand before we could start the process of building.
And once we were at 75% of raising the $15 million, we could break ground.
opening the doors, seeing something that was a vision, now created, and now we would be able to serve. It was unbelievable.
It's been really awesome to see what Joan Kroc's vision was for these centers actually come to life and actually really happen on a day-to-day basis.
And taking the kids off the streets, a safe place for them to participate in different types of programs, have a spiritual component, and that's a true mission of the Salvation Army, what they've done, not only here in Phoenix, but all around the world.
This is a place where people come and live and work that really need the Salvation Army. This is where we are meant to be. This is where William Booth would be if he was in Phoenix.
And we're just very fortunate that we were able to get the grant, and this facility is in my community.
Since 1865, the Salvation Army has been fulfilling its mission to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and meet human need in His name without discrimination. Nearly 150 years after its founding, Joan Kroc provided the Salvation Army with the opportunity to do so in entirely new and different ways. Today, thanks to Joan Kroc's generosity, Salvation Army officers, employees, donors, and volunteers are meeting human need in His name in 26 previously underserved communities in places like Chicago, Philadelphia, Puerto Rico, Memphis, and many others. Across the country, Kroc Centers are beacons of light and hope. With your help, we can shine that light into the lives of thousands in your community. One of those lives might even be yours.